The Galactic Trade Consortium had ruled the Outer Rim for 8 centuries, their massive enforcement fleets ensuring that every species paid tribute, followed protocols, and never questioned the established order. Their latest target was a small blue-green world in an unremarkable system, a planet whose inhabitants had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Captain Vorthak of the Hegemony Enforcement Division studied the tactical display with 4 of his 6 eyes, his chitinous mandibles clicking in amusement. The human homeworld hung before them like a ripe fruit, defended by perhaps 30 primitive vessels that barely qualified as warships. Pathetic, he hissed to his bridge crew. These mammals think their crude metal boxes can stand against the might of the consortium. Begin the standard intimidation protocol. The message was transmitted on all frequencies, translated into the barbaric human languages. Attention, primitive species. You will submit to consortium authority. Prepare for taxation, assessment, and resource extraction. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. The response came from a weathered human admiral whose scarred face filled the view screen. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to leave our system before we consider you a hostile threat. Vorthak's laughter echoed through the bridge. 30 seconds? You face a fleet of 300 vessels, each one capable of reducing your world to ash. What could you possibly do in 30 seconds? Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. 25 seconds now. I'd start your engines if I were you. Enough of this farce, Vorthak snarled. All ships advance to bombardment range. Show these primitives the price of defiance. The consortium fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their energy shields shimmering like deadly aurora. It was then that something impossible happened. The human ships didn't retreat or scatter as expected. Instead, they simply vanished. "Sir," his sensor operator called out, panic creeping into his voice. "The human vessels, they're gone. No warp signatures, no energy dispersal patterns, they just disappeared." Vorthak's confidence wavered. Impossible. No species has developed that level of stealth technology. Scan for... The first explosion tore through his port flank, then another, and another. The consortium ships were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, couldn't fight. "Report!" Vorthak roared as his flagship shuddered under impact. "Unknown weapons fire, sir. The attacks are coming from everywhere. It's like space itself is shooting at us." What Vorthak didn't understand, what no alien species in the galaxy had ever conceived, was that humans didn't just build ships, they built systems. While other races focused on individual vessel superiority, humanity had spent decades turning their entire solar system into an integrated defense network. The asteroid belt wasn't just rocks, it was a minefield of hidden weapons platforms. The moons weren't just satellites, they were fortress bases with enough firepower to level continents. Even the space debris orbiting Earth had been weaponized, turned into kinetic projectiles guided by quantum targeting systems. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "You wanted to know what we could do in 30 seconds, Captain. We've been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Every piece of space junk, every mining station, every communications satellite, all of it connected, all of it armed, all of it aimed at anyone stupid enough to threaten our home." The consortium fleet, once proud and unstoppable, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that had turned the very fabric of their star system into a weapon. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds were falling to attacks from directions that shouldn't exist, struck by weapons they couldn't detect. "This is impossible!" Orthac screamed as another section of his fleet disappeared in brilliant flashes of light. "No species fights like this! You're supposed to meet us in honorable combat!" "Honorable?" Chen's laugh was cold as the void. "You came here to enslave my people and strip mine our world. Honor went out the airlock the moment you made that threat. This is how humans fight. Not with honor, but with everything we have." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted exactly 7 minutes. Of the 300 ships that had entered the Sol system with such confidence, only 12 limped away, their hulls scarred and their crews traumatized. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The mighty consortium, conquerors of worlds, had been humiliated by a species they dismissed as primitive. But more than that, they'd encountered something that would haunt their nightmares. A species that didn't just fight to win, but fought to ensure that anyone who threatened them would never make that mistake again. Within a year, the Galactic Trade Consortium collapsed as dozens of subjugated species rose in rebellion, inspired by humanity's example. The Outer Rim, once ruled by fear and tribute, became a confederation of free worlds. And at the center of it all sat a small blue planet, whose inhabitants had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. Sometimes the best defense isn't the strongest ship or the biggest gun. It's making sure your enemy never wants to fight you again. The humans had won not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through something far more dangerous: the absolute refusal to accept defeat, and the ingenuity to turn their entire world into a weapon when threatened. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.